This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's exciting episode of Mom and Pop Eateries of Grey Bruce. We're doing a series of shows called Mom and Pop Revisited, and we've gone back to some of the restaurants that we visited in 2020, and we're going to take a run back, and we're going to visit some of them again here in 2021, get caught up with them. See how things have gone for the past year, and we're going to take a look ahead to the future. So we're in the beautiful town of Port Elgin, and Stephen Harris, the owner of Ristorante Rosina, is my guest. Welcome back, Stephen.
Well, thanks very much. Hope you've been well, and pleasure to be here once again.
Fantastic to have you back. So Rogers does a great job at archiving the show. So I was able to go to the Rogers YouTube channel and pull up our interview from last September. So the last time we talked was near the end of summer, and you and I had a great discussion then as to how things were then. So let's start at the end of the summer. Let's take a look from that point on, how things have gone for Ristorante Rosina. I know things were pretty much steady as she goes up until the 24th of December, and then things changed. So,
for sure. Well, obviously, summer, it was as good as we could expect. Patios were lively, and I found a lot of people learned a lot since the first, we'll call it wave, shut down. Obviously, the second wave that incurred more in the wintertime was expected, but not something we were all looking forward to. The fall was good. We found that people were still interested in dining in. We still had uptake with takeout service and good support within the community. Probably the biggest disappointment in the hospitality industry, and we kind of knew that was coming, was just not having your, we'll call it festive season. It used to be Christmas season, but quite a few things have changed, and whether it's office Christmas parties, friends getting together, families gathering, we didn't find obviously that was either accessible or of interest, even when we were still in the green zone in our region, and allowing, I think at that time, up to groups of 10. So that was just another hit in the business, whether you're looking at restaurants, obviously salons, people getting, we'll say, dressed up, fixed up, those that have more hair than myself, and kind of going from there. So fall, I would say, all things considered, we're pretty much in knowledge of what this pandemic is and our safety measures, that it went well in the fall. And it was just disappointing there wasn't that opportunity to kind of, I guess you would say, increase revenues, increase staffing during the holiday season, which is still somewhat troubling, as we know a lot of people are still affected from the hospitality sector.
And that's very true. And, a lot of restaurants, hospitality industry, we look forward to that Christmas break, that period, even sometime, a few days prior to Christmas, but right through until the kids go back to school. Sure. People are taking a holiday at that time. So it traditionally is, aside from the catering jobs that you get prior to Christmas, but it really is a big time for people. They're visiting the area to come into the restaurant. So, everybody really took a hit, over that Christmas, losing that Christmas business.
Most definitely. And I think, we kind of saw it starting in, you would say, the Thanksgiving time. It's usually a period where you have families getting together, you have cottagers within our region that are coming up to the cottage, inviting friends or family up. And, I think kudos to people continuing to be safe and making sure that they're doing the proper things. I wouldn't say all, but majority of people. We didn't find any concerns really in our area, and I know that stretches in the Grey and Bruce throughout. And I even know, for example, over in Blue Mountain, Collingwood, which is usually very busy with activities and people gathering, it's still maintained their safety. And as we saw, even though, numbers have risen now that we're into the third wave, our region still is relatively good. And that's something I think we should all be proud of, as not only residents here, but also those that have traveled to the area haven't really seen spikes. And we hope, knock on wood, that continues.
And and that was so discouraging, and it still is discouraging for Grey and Bruce counties. I mean, you even got national attention in the news for having such numbers when you're surrounded by numbers that were off the charts pretty much, as compared to other areas of the country. So. And because of those bad areas, Grey and Bruce County, in a sense, paid the price for all the hard work and all the good work that you did there. So that must have been a really hard pill to swallow for Grey Bruce. And even now, as we're gearing up to get ready for summer.
Yeah, most definitely. I think, obviously safety and people's interest is first and foremost. We've kind of learned that. Obviously, some industries get hit harder than others. And quite often, whatever section of the hospitality sector you're in, you can't really work from home like you would in some other office settings. So, we've seen the struggles. It continues on, and I know a lot of people, wouldn't say that they haven't made it through, but we've had good government support to try and keep us afloat. But eventually, we do have to look, and it doesn't matter if you're a salon, if you're a gym, if you're in massage, restaurants. End of the day, we eventually got to make money again, and we hope that does come along in the future.
Absolutely, and the longer this, I can't help but think that the longer this goes on, the people's habits are going to change, and they have changed. We've been in lockdown for a good, pretty much locked down for a year now, and I understand. I get it. This is a really tough time, but people's minds are going to change. Their habits are going to change. My question, I still work in the restaurant business, and my question is, right now nobody's allowed to sit down in a dining room in a restaurant, and as we keep going with this idea, or this restriction, are people going to be as willing to come back and sit down in the dining room again once they are allowed to?
Yeah, and I think, I know I mentioned it when we first met back, as you said, in September. Our area, we've seen very good uptake. Depends on what region of Grey Bruce you're in, but a lot of it we'll call somewhat of a bubble, whether it's affiliated with Bruce Power and the capabilities of strong income that it provides, or simply, tourist destinations. And we've seen those expand as people have moved more into our regions, whether it's a cottage, a secondary home, or, even retirees. And we're definitely seeing a boom with baby boomers. I think we've experienced it with our first couple lockdowns. I know myself that people have come back. You kind of do, I think after the first lockdown, I don't know if I was the only one, but I know in our area that a lot said the same, that there was kind of a fear. We, wanted to make sure we're doing all our protocols, sure information was at your fingertips, and whether you're searching your computer or your phone or, provided information by email, it was there, but we needed to make sure that we were doing our part. And people did come back. We obviously had capacity limits that we have to sustain, and it sounds like we'll have those for the short term anyways, foreseeable future. But people were coming out. Same thing this winter when we did have our, we'll call it short sustainable coming out of the second wave. And I think we'll still see that. But when you get to larger municipalities, and I know a lot of their restaurants, for example, are much more confined just due to the cost of real estate, it's difficult for them to, vision how they're going to be able to have capacity limits and also have people come back when you do know that there's so much more population, and those have kind of been in red or gray zones throughout most of this. So I know one study that recently came out, I think it was over the weekend, that there is a lot of people saying across this country that dining in is not of their top priority. We hope that isn't something that lasts long term. I also know that a lot of restaurants and even ourselves have learned quite a bit about takeout and how we can adapt to that. I don't think the liquor and beer sales have been as high as maybe some people would have thought with takeout. And I understand why that aspect is, just simply with cost and accessibility. But a lot of people have been very creative. I mean, even ourselves, we're an Italian restaurant, but we've done a couple of taco nights. We have another one coming up, and, huge uptake. Obviously, we're not Mexican. We're not trying to encroach into other people's zones there, but doing our twist on it. And those are things that we probably didn't do as much in the past with just strictly dining in. And, it's creativity and trying to adapt. I think one thing that I do find concerning is not just the people, that, whether they'll come back, but it's some that have been lost in the hospitality sector. I know even ourselves, we had a sous chef that left for a different career. He wanted to change at this time. I know some chefs that have come out of this industry and gone into others that you've heard in different municipalities. And that's kind of a loss for the industry, a loss for consumers. And we do know that new people come along, but, it is troublesome that we're going to be difficult enough to sustain and keep going. But staffing's always been an issue. And if you have lower capacities of trained people in those fields, then obviously it becomes more of a struggle as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I know where I work, for example, we have at least two people. They took their serve money and they used it to go back to school to retrain for something. So, those people are lost to the industry pretty much forever. God bless them both. And you love to see people advance, move on, that kind of thing. But like you said, when we reopen again, we need those people in order to open full swing again, because for example, where I work, our boss is doing everything, and we're not silly. We can see the numbers just by the number of orders we get, and we know that on most days it's not worth it for him to be open, but he needs to do that in order to keep his staff there, to keep those people there for when he reopens. But then again, without the help of the federal government and with the wage subsidy and the rent subsidy and those things, there's no way they'd be able to remain open.
No, for sure. And, myself, I find that a lot of the subsidies, whether it's, even locally in our town, our region with Grey Bruce, Spruce to Bruce grants on our side of, we'll call the Grey Bruce. They did a lot in the last year to allow people to either expand patios, create new spaces, increase safety. But then if you go up to the next levels, the feds have put a lot of programs in place. I think they've been good. I know not everyone has tapped into them, or some have had some difficulties, but overall they've been there, and I hope they do continue. I think one of the biggest fears, and I know, Restaurants Canada is advocating on it, is that certain industries, will still have restrictions even when we fully reopen our province. And I hope those subsidies do continue on past the summer. I understand if they have to be revisited and, changed or modified. But we do need support to get people back working, to keep businesses open. A lot of businesses have been able to stay afloat with these subsidies, but if we know that there's going to be restrictions and as well, some concerns with people coming back out, we will see more businesses fail if the government doesn't continue to support. So they've got good programs in place. It's not something that they have to recreate, and it's just figuring out how they could continue to support those that need it.
Yes, and I guess the federal government announced that those two subsidy programs that I mentioned are good until September, and then they'll, as you said, revisit those then. But as you said, I was going to talk about the future of the restaurant business and what's going to stick for a while anyway, because they're predicting that this, the effects of this pandemic are going to be long lasting, but we may see, as you said, further restrictions within the restaurant industry that are going to be around, if not, in the short term, if not for a very long time, as far as social distancing, masking, etc.
Most definitely. And I think we're all somewhat comfortable wearing masks today. I'm not sure we all want to do it, but we know it's our part. The distancing is something that I don't think is too hard to handle. Certain restaurants, as I said, in smaller settings, you're definitely going to run into situations where people have found to date and will find in the future that, it's very difficult for them to reach capacity to make this worthwhile. And that's where a good example of the subsidies, if they can continue on until those are all lifted, that would be great. But I think if you look at the short term, we will see restrictions, in the foreseeable future, at least maybe until this time next year. And, we definitely want to see the economy open. I think the biggest thing, I'm speaking about myself, but I could probably speak on behalf of multiple businesses and multiple people. We don't want to see another lockdown. So, if this means that we have to extend a bit further into June, it's not ideal. But I think we all got to keep the long-term focus and, reopening, having a good summer, even if it might still be restricted on gatherings, and look into fall. And I know just talking to my team is that, we probably won't have capacity filled Christmas parties, but even having groups come back out, have offices get together, multiple families get together. That's something we want to see. And it's not just on the revenue aspect. I know a lot of people in the hospitality sector, again, it comes down to anything from aesthetics being done to, serving at a bar, concerts, anything along that side. Part of it is also the social interaction. It's great connecting over a phone, a computer, but we all do want to eventually start to shake hands again, talk to people, catch up in life, raise that beer, that glass of wine, or, bottle of water, whatever your choice and appetite is, and, enjoy life again. And, probably stay past 10 o'clock, which is one thing that, I even find funny is that, we're creatures of habit and we have a long weekend coming. And a lot of people do stay up later, have fun when you are in a social setting. We've kind of got into this norm that you put your feet up, get your comfies on, and, you're watching TV by 9 or 10 and falling asleep at your convenience and not really get into those festivities that we want to see those happen again and start to, get back to whether it's normal or, as they keep saying, the new normal.
And that's the thing, we're social creatures, human beings, but anybody that works in the restaurant business, if you're not a people kind of person, then you shouldn't be in that business, right? So,
No.
so we're used to, for example, again, I've been in the business for a number of years. You get used to seeing those familiar faces every morning coming in for breakfast. Those customers, you get to know them by name. They become your friends. They become someone that you can put a hand on their shoulder. You can shake their hand. We're not allowed to do any of that. And, I think they miss us just as much as we miss them. So, it really takes a toll on both sides, on the customer that's been coming to you for X number of years and knows you like family, and vice versa. So, in the longer that goes on, I don't know. I think there's just going to be, every restaurant's going to have one big party once it comes back to normal again.
Well, we're taking reservations already for it, so we're looking to that day. But no, I fully agree. And I mean, I was even talking to our chefs the other day, and it's even hard from their aspect. I don't really do any of the cooking or food prep, anything along that lines. I definitely greet the customers, deal with them. Obviously interaction that way. But one thing I've always strived on, especially in our type of restaurant setting with casual fine dining, is getting feedback on their meal. Getting feedback even on plating of a meal. I feel for a lot of these chefs that have great creativity, putting food in a box and sending it out and not really knowing what the feedback is. And also, did they eat it out of the box or did they put it on a plate? Great with social media right now that, you do have customers, even if it's from other restaurants, posting, sharing what they're eating and everything like that. But it's still not the same as, getting that handshake when somebody goes to leave to say, thank you, look forward to seeing you again, all the best to your family. Those are, as you said, we're social beings and, creatures of habit. And we want to have that and not just over a phone or a text or anything along that lines.
All right, you're right. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. Okay, let's talk about Restaurante Rosina. And you mentioned one of the new things that you're doing on your menu. Do we still, I know we do because I follow your page every single day, but I know we still have Duck Wing Tuesday, right?
For sure. Yeah, yeah. And I feel bad. Those ducks keep getting eliminated in Grey Bruce. So, it's been quite popular. But yeah, no, we're still doing a lot of our features on the Tuesday night. Today's Wednesday. We date night at home, I guess you would call it right now. But our pasta nights and, steak night Fridays. We've added another steak.
I've got it right here. Two for $52, right?
You got it.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we've tried to entrench that in people in Saugeen Shores, and looking forward to the day when we get people coming back up, from outside of our region or our town. And, it's been good. We actually see a lot of the same customers on set nights. Those that like the duck wings, they should generally show up on Tuesdays, and we don't see them on a Friday, for example. But the loyalty's been there, and we've had a great uptake. We had our new spring menu come out about a month ago now. Again, kind of disappointment that we can't actually have it in the restaurant yet. And we hope that we do get to open, even if it's our patio, before we roll in the summer, so that some people can actually try it plated, and we'll call it hot, not warm by the time you get home.
Now, I sound like a broken record here. Anybody that watches the show on a regular basis over the past few weeks, but this is really going to be a huge part of the restaurant revenue flow. It's going to be the face of restaurants, I think, for this coming summer, and that's patios. And, I see everywhere you go, everybody's getting their patios ready. And it's no different at Ristorante Rosina. You're all set to go with your patio?
Yeah, we've done a small expansion. Obviously, I think we talked about this last time. We didn't have a patio before, and it was something, we had designs, we had envisioned, but never executed. And I don't like to say it, but COVID pushed us far enough to invest in it and go ahead. It is a permanent patio, and our expansion this year is we got another level to it, some additional seating. And one thing that will be kind of interesting is we actually have some Muskoka chairs coming in. They're still on back order. Surprise, surprise. But so Muskoka chairs, and then we do a lot of work with HD TV and electronics. We have expanded the HD barbecues, and we have a great Solos grill, which is a really neat fire pit. So we're hoping to have a little bit later nights. We won't be running that right through our dinner prime time, I guess you'd say, but get some people to kind of gather around, socialize, stay a little bit later in the night, and enjoy a fire and a few cocktails.
Very nice. That sounds like a lot of fun. That should be a great attraction for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. So I really think, and I know you're talking kind of what we see short term and long term. If you go over to Europe, I haven't been, but obviously follow on the web or dreams about it, and you take a look at those, and patios have been very popular in those type areas for a number of years. Obviously, if you go further south, even North America, patio is quite popular, but I think it's going to be something we see these stay. And I really hope towns who have been very accommodating during COVID, allowing different spaces that might not have been patios before, do sustain that. Obviously, if it impedes traffic, it might be something that has to be modified, but I hope people do realize that being outdoors is, kind of short-lived in the warm season here, but enjoy it, embrace it, dress for it, and you take it in, and it expands our space to use. It expands a lot of restaurants that have smaller indoor capacity that go outside, and also gives a different feel.
And that's so true. And I remember the last time we talked, and another guest I had on was from Chez Gilles and Meaford, and Simon LeBon was part of the Chamber of Commerce in Meaford, and you, Stephen, wear the hat as the president of the Saugeen Shores Chamber of Commerce. So I remember Simon saying it, and you basically agreed on the same level that the patios were a pleasant surprise in the downtown area, at the restaurants. But, it was for the restaurants, but what it did was it made people that were driving through take a look and say, wow, look, there's patios here. And let's stop and take a look, right? So they get out of their cars and maybe go into some of the shops as well as sitting down for a bite to eat.
Yeah, most definitely. And what I really hope is, I know that there was some in our area that did it last year, but the retail also gets involved in this. Expand your retail. We'll take, over in Southampton, they're also up in Tobermory, Thorncrest Outfitters. Get those kayaks out front. A lot of great surf shops over in Kincardine area. Right into, show the interest of what your product is. I know some more beach towns, I guess you call, like Sabo, have done that for quite a few years. But I want to just see, become a vibrant area, not just go by and see your storefront, but actually see what the product is there, see people out shopping, whether it's your sale product, if it's a new product, you need to get out. Keep the patios going, keep those activities. I think ourselves, we actually have an awning that we have had installed, and we'll have that this year, where we're strictly using umbrellas before. That can help reduce the sun. If we do get a shower, and you hope that it's not rain all night, it can cover people up until such time the sun comes back. I think it's great. A lot of businesses, not just hospitality, retail has been affected as well. And they need to find methods to safely get customers back into their stores. A lot of them done great with online shopping, but people still want the same interaction as we talked about in the hospitality is, somebody trying something on, not just receiving it in the mail and hoping it fits. And talking to, your favorite retailer and kind of finding out what's going on, new trends, and what products are there, if it's for a gift or for yourself.
Okay, Stephen, we got a few minutes left here. I know we touched on it just about a minute or two ago, but the future of the restaurant business, what's going to stick, what's going to go. We did basically just touch on that a little bit, but it's going to be a different world moving forward for the restaurant business, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. I think the short term, I'll say within the next year, we still will have to deal with capacity limits. There's no foreseeable, long-term gain that we're going to get fully back to high capacity, tight tables, anything along that line. I think that day will come. I'm not a scientist or a doctor, so I don't know exactly where this pandemic leads, but I think signs are already showing these vaccines are working. We've learned that, medicine is there to expedite, and we have brilliant people around the world to help keep us safe. But if you're looking short term, I think it's people trying to adapt and accommodate, with your capacities. I think takeout's going to be something that will continue to thrive. Whether it's even somebody just coming home from work and they don't want to get together with their wife and meet at the restaurant and pick something up and not cook. There's different ways. It always seemed that restaurants were kind of segregated, that either were takeout or you're dine in. And I think that there's a combination there. And I think we'll also see, some places that we'll call food trucks, or, kind of more guided at takeout, that they've taken advantage of patios and kind of expanding that they actually have dining space, even though they don't have a facility or a building. So I think there's a lot of adaptivity that will combine within the industry, and we'll see consumers still find ways to support restaurants. And we just have to make sure we deliver at what their needs are.
Absolutely, Stephen. All right. I'm sorry we've run out of time. We got about 30 seconds to go here. Stephen Harris, owner of Ristorante Rosina in Port Elgin. Please, folks, if you're in Port Elgin this summer, stop in. You can't miss it. Beautiful spot right on the main street in Port Elgin. Stephen, thank you so much and have a great summer.
Thank you. All the best and stay safe.
Okay, on behalf of producer Mark Perry, I'm Rob Leonard. We'll see you next time on Mama Pop Eateries of Grey Bruce.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Looking for the best way to get the Major League Baseball games you want to watch? Rogers Super Sports Pack has you covered. With MLB Extra Innings, you'll have a premium ticket to out-of-market regular season games with all